Welcome to Wealthy Mind, where we talk about all things finances, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the surprising. Hey, welcome to Wealthy Mind, where we are creating wealthy minds for entrepreneurs and business owners. I am your host, Misty Rose Gold, International Success Coach, and today I have with me Geoff Eliason. I think I said that correct.
You got it.
Okay, good. Maybe a little faster next time.
Oh, it works.
Awesome. Geoff, I am so excited to have you on the show, and I am so excited for our future interviews as well. You guys, he is a mergers and acquisitions expert, and I am so, so, so proud to be building a partnership with Geoff because businesses need both of us. And it is amazing, amazing, amazing to partner with this man. He is an incredible human being and a strong businessman. And Geoff, I'm going to have you tell us, what is the name of your company?
Well, thank you, Misty, for that introduction. It is a pleasure to partner with you in serving business owners, founders, entrepreneurs at every stage of their journey as they seek to realize their potential. Our company is called SDR Ventures, and we're an investment bank located in Denver, and we've been serving founders and entrepreneurs, as you mentioned, specific to mergers and acquisitions, or M&A, for 23 years now. And in its simplest form, we help business owners prepare to sell their business, selling their business. We also help business owners acquire other companies, usually as a growth strategy.
Okay.
And we also help business owners raise money for their business. Again, oftentimes as part of a growth strategy. And as I mentioned, it's you and I are really dedicated to helping that business owner again realize their potential at all different stages. And so it's a pleasure to lock arms with you and do that and do it well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited for the journey ahead. So I know that you're in the Denver Tech Center. Can you work with businesses outside of Denver?
Yeah, we sure do. We've been working with business owners throughout the U.S. And interestingly enough, we've been also working with business owners around the world. In fact, we worked with a software company in New Zealand last year. We had a client selling an agribusiness, and the buyer was in the Netherlands. Again, that was last year as well.
All right.
So it's common for us to work with business owners and investors around the world.
That's wonderful. I'm learning new things. Like, we're working on our partnership, and I'm learning new things about your company. So this is great. So you are global, which is awesome. I'm international. You're international. This is great. So any businesses that can reach out to you, it doesn't matter what type of business. Is that correct?
Yeah, interestingly, and most recently, a lot of international companies want U.S. exposure. And so we routinely get inquiry from businesses in Latin America and Asia, in particular, that want to own U.S. companies, and they'll reach out to us and say, we need representation to acquire US-based companies. And so we are seeing more and more of that.
When
Um,
they do that, do they send somebody here to run the company or?
yes, so that is typically the case.
Mhm.
And more often than not, it a lot of times it's a requirement that they have um, someone, particularly if a visa is involved, if they're trying to get a US visa, they have to, they're required to oftentimes have representation
Okay,
from that family in the United States.
that's good to know.
Yeah,
So there's a juicy topic I want to talk about today.
yeah,
There's a lot of misconception around business and selling a business or acquiring a business or mergers and all the things, right? So the topic is, how is buying a business, or no, how is selling a business different from selling a house?
yeah. A lot of business owners assume that it's the same, and it's not. Um, your business carries with it a tremendous amount of complexity. And for founders and entrepreneurs, oftentimes they will only sell one business versus over the course of a lifetime, you may buy and sell multiple houses. And so um, an entrepreneur sets out to build a company and sell it and do that one time. And oftentimes um, that impacts multiple generations of their
Hmm.
family. And so preparing that business to sell and realize the full potential of that sale. And it's truly like a baby. And you want that business to go into that baby, that child, into the hands of someone that you believe is going to carry that legacy on. Um, that carries with it a lot of weight. And that's something that we at SDR take very seriously. Um, and, you know, you have oftentimes employees that are going to continue working for that new owner. You want to make sure that your employees that you care deeply about are in good hands and that they're taken care of as well. And so a lot goes into it. It on average takes 6 to 12 months. So on average, 9 months to sell a business. And most often it takes 1 to 3 years. Oftentimes working with you
Hmm.
to get that company and yourself ready for a sale. Um, and then something a lot of business owners don't realize is that the group buying your business, they want you to stay around for 1 to 3 years. And
Okay.
so, Misty, when you add that all up, 1 to 3 years to prepare to sell the company
Hmm.
through your expertise,
Hmm.
the sale itself takes 6 to 12 months, and then staying on for 1 to 3 years, that can be 5 to 8 years.
Right.
And so let me tell you what it's not. It is not put a sign in front of your business, throw it on a a a, a website that it's for sale,
Right.
sell it, and then leave the keys underneath the doormat, have millions of dollars wired to your bank account, and then head to the Caribbean or Hawaii or Tuscany and call it
Yeah.
a day.
If it were only that simple.
That never happens, ever. And I mean that, but
Yeah.
business owners believe that that is what happens, and it's just not.
Yeah. So we have to prepare for the future, looking at the big picture. And this is one of the things I work with my clients all the time is, all right, let's really think strategy long term. How do we figure this out? And the question that I constantly ask is, would you buy the business to get them ready? Like this is part of getting them ready. Would you buy the business? Would you buy your employees? Would you buy the culture? Right? Would you buy all the aspects of it?
And the
And
answer
usually,
more often than not is no.
correct. That's the answer I get every time. But it
And
gives clarity.
and Misty, the irony, and to really cut right to the core, is a lot of entrepreneurs build companies around themselves.
Hmm.
And when you ask a business owner, put yourself in the buyer or the investor's shoes.
Hmm.
They want to know that when they buy the company, they can extract you from the company
Right.
either right away or after 2 or 3 years. And it ha- it has a positive effect, not a
Hmm.
negative effect.
Right.
And so the irony is that a lot of times we'll talk to a business owner and there's a level of pride and bravado that, oh, this company rises and falls on me.
Mm.
Well, that may make you feel good and it may be your identity.
Hmm.
Um, but a buyer wants to know that they can pull you out of the business quickly
Hmm.
and that the company won't collapse. The company that they paid millions for won't collapse in your absence.
Right. So there's so much that goes into that. I do a lot of training with people to make sure that they become a CEO so that they can, if that is their path, right? Some people don't ever want to sell their business. It's going to die with them, but the people that are thinking about selling it, all right. So we need to help you understand how to be a CEO and how to get yourself to that point of being able to remove yourself from the business. And what does that look like? So there's so much of the people element that goes into that, which is the culture. What is your leadership and can it stand alone? Have you created such an environment that it stands without you? So
Misty,
this is always a good test.
I think that one of the greatest challenges in the entrepreneurial journey is for the founder, the entrepreneur to go from being a practitioner to being a CEO.
Mm,
A lot of times, what brought them into a business was the sheer love of that practice.
hmm.
And that could have been welding, roofing, plumbing, being a financial advisor, a CPA, an attorney, um, an engineer,
Hmm.
anything. They loved rolling their sleeves up, interacting with the client or the customer,
Hmm.
swinging a hammer, producing something. And then all of a sudden, at some point, they turned around and they were like, oh my goodness, I actually have a business. I need to figure out how to run a business and lead people.
Hmm.
And it's a moment of truth and it requires a lot of soul searching for individuals because that's not necessarily what they signed up for.
Right.
And it may not even be their gifting or their skill set
Hmm. Oh,
managing people
yeah.
and running a business. But what investors and people that buy companies want is they want to buy a great company, not a practitioner.
Understood. So one of the conversations that I have with clients at times or all the time, depending on the engagement, is helping them to get outside of their self-centered thinking into the leadership role. And that's a different mindset. So you were talking about it. They're not natural managers and, that's leadership skills, right? So a lot of my people have that struggle of how do I communicate with people? How do I create the culture? How do I do all those things that actually make the business tick, right? So, back to you talked about the entrepreneur that just, oh yeah, I built it on me. It all revolves around me. Like I love the entrepreneur ego. And
Yeah,
then there are times where I hate it. But it the ego is what helps us build that thing from scratch, from nothing. And we're just like, cool, we did it. Awesome, right? But it becomes a hindrance when you involve other people. If it's just you flying solo, rock on with your badass ego, have fun with it.
right.
The moment you include another person, that ego has to step aside.
Misty, with your expertise, can can this be learned, or is it a truth that eagles just don't fly in flocks? Um, or can a practitioner and an eagle learn to work with other people, and can they lead?
I believe that most of them can.
Yeah,
There
I
might
agree with
be
you.
there might be a rare few that can't. So they just need to find someone else to manage the company for them.
I also believe and have observed that when they when we talk to them, and they have someone like you that's helping them and coaching them,
Hmm.
when they can really see and know what the carrot is and what their business can be worth,
Right.
if they can lead and they can be a CEO,
Hmm.
they become motivated pretty quick.
That's incredible. And this is where your conversation comes in. So I'm in the process of bringing you some of my clients, and your education is different from mine. Your expertise is different from mine, but yet we approach everything holistically, the whole person, the whole business, the
Yeah.
whole life picture. We both look at all those things. So we're not just focused on the dollar amount, we're focused on everything, which is amazing. And that's part of why we're aligned. And, in that space, it's having you come in with that voice that says, hey, I've been doing this for how many years? 30 years, right? Like
Yeah.
you've been doing this for so long. And if we do X, Y, and Z, and you get this in line and this in line and this in line, then your business can be worth X. Wow. Okay. Now, this is where money is a great motivator to bring in somebody like myself, because the business journey is a soul searching journey if you're going to do well at it. If you're going to keep growing and expanding over time and decades and all those things, you have to take a personal journey. And it's the only environment that really forces people into that space.
And Misty, there's a statistic that the Exit Planning Institute uses, and it's backed up through an accounting firm, an auditing firm, and that is 70% of business owners regret selling their company in the first year that they sell their business.
Mm,
And we believe, and it's why we feel so strongly about working in coordination with you,
mhm,
that if the business owner did in fact take a holistic approach towards preparing for a sale, the sale
mhm,
itself, and then life after the sale, um, and worked with you um, in that process, then the sale would not result in a loss of identity.
Hmm.
The sale would be a realization of the financial, mental, emotional, relational,
Yeah.
spiritual um, realization
Hmm.
of that moment that then catapulted them to another level financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally for that next season.
Yeah.
And with that holistic approach, they had a team surrounding them, advocating for them, their
Hmm.
objectives, their needs, their desires. Um, the left hand knows what the right hand's doing and is in the same room, figuratively or literally communicating with each other and advocating not only for the individual, but their entire family.
Right.
Um, and what's sad is, again, going back to misconceptions and selling a house versus a business. Um, there is a lot of emotion and identity
Hmm. Yes.
in that business. It's truly like a child.
Hmm.
Um, and so it requires a tremendous amount of preparation relationally, mentally, emotionally, financially, the soul searching, the spiritual aspect
Hmm.
of it. Is this my identity? Um, my spouse has been accustomed to me devoting 40 to 80 hours a week to
Hmm.
this endeavor. Are we both prepared when that changes?
Right.
And same with kids and grandkids. Um, that's rooted in these things is why 70% of business owners regret selling. But they have to have the courage, the humility, and the intentionality to do something about it before. And that requires help. It's not done on your own.
It does. 100%. So I tell everyone that you can't build an empire without an army. And
That is a great, great tagline and something that we need to anchor ourselves around.
hmm, definitely. And I'm a part of that army for a lot of business owners, as are you. And everything that you've talked about, I can totally relate to with some of my clients and just the pain that people go through and the excitement that they go through and their hopes and their dreams and the doubts and the fears and all the things, right? So this is all the stuff that people have to face and they try to face it alone and that's where they fail. And that's where they end up with massive regret.
Misty, we actually quantify what you're saying. Um, so some people will say, well, why can't I just sell the business myself? Why can't I get it ready to sell? Why can't I sell it myself? Well, on one level, just quantitatively, it takes us, our organization, 1,000 hours
Mm.
minimum, 1,000 hours to get your business ready to sell it, and then allow the buyer to do all of the diligence on your company and then negotiate back and forth to finally get to the closing table. Uh,
Mm.
again, the misconception, I can do this myself. The single most important thing um, that either drives the value of a company in a sale or sabotages the sale is whether or not the business deteriorates during that 6 to 12 months or whether it continues to appreciate in revenue and profitability. And if
Mhm.
you're spending 1,000 hours preparing to sell the company and selling the company on your own, you're not focusing on driving the value of your company, which is what you should be doing.
Yep. It's just, it's for me, it's a no-brainer to think about, let's make sure we have an expert taking care of this so that we can get the most revenue out of the sell, right? Like we don't want everything dropping as we're going into the last year. That's going to reduce the back end. You know, it doesn't make sense. But then again, that ties back to the ego. It ties back to I have to do this myself. And again, I love the entrepreneur's ego because we get so much done by ourselves. But then we have to bring other people in and learn how to trust people in that space, learn to trust you, learn to trust me. And I am so, so grateful that I am uniquely gifted as a woman to use both sides of my brain.
Yep.
And I have decades of learning what it is to be an entrepreneur, what it is to be in business, and looking at different types of businesses and having a view that other people don't have, like you do. You have decades of experience as well. And that gives us a different positioning. And I have a very unique positioning to work within that development of the CEO and the leader of the business because it is a very delicate process. It is a
And you
very,
need that team or that ecosystem that include you,
mm-hmm,
SDR, myself, our team, the estate attorney, the M&A attorney, the real estate attorney, the CPA, the wealth manager,
mm-hmm,
the risk and insurance specialist, um, someone that is addressing charitable strategies and
right.
giving. Um, it requires what you said. It requires an army, but the key is it requires an army that um, has that business owner at the center, and everyone is advocating, talking to each other and advocate
Mm-hmm,
for that individual.
yes.
I think the business owner is fearful
Mm-hmm,
that they're going to be not at the table,
mm-hmm,
and it's going to be a bunch of Wall Street suits saying, "Oh, we're actually the smartest people in the room. Just get out of the way. Let us do what you paid us to do." And sadly, what happens is they break a bunch of glass in the process and leave it to the business owner to pick up the broken glass, um, and they move on down the road. And Misty, I think that was when the realization, we were really like-minded
mm-hmm,
in this fiduciary mindset for the business owner, because what's at stake, um, whether or not that business owner comes out the other side with a sense of fulfillment
yes,
rather than a bunch of broken glass that they got to pick up. And that broken glass is ultimately broken relationships.
definitely. And just to talk about that fear that you mentioned a little bit, I know that I'm super collaborative with my clients. We do it together. It's honoring their vision, honoring what they've already created, and just making it better. So
Yep.
I know that you're very collaborative with your people too, which is why we make such a great partnership. It's incredible. So that fear can be debilitating. And I hope that people listening to us feel the courage to reach out to either one of us and say, you know what? I want somebody I can trust in my corner.
Right.
And if I can't fulfill that role, I know somebody who can. I know Geoff can, or somebody else. Like, we
Yep.
will figure it out. Like, you guys are the most important thing to us. the business owner is the most important to us or the founder.
Yeah.
You guys are the most important. And when that is the main focus all the way through this process, so we're not just taking you out of something that you've put your heart and soul into and taking over it and dominating it. That's not my style, and that's certainly not Geoff's style.
Misty, I wanna leave the audience with one more concept or misconception.
Okay, sounds good. We've got some time.
Um, thank you. Um, you know, when we talk about selling a business versus selling a house, we look at it similar to a clock.
Mm,
So you can get away with selling a house at the 11th hour or at midnight,
hmm
especially if it's a great house in a great neighborhood in a great city uh, with a good economy. But in selling a business, um, you cannot get away with waiting till the 11th hour because
right.
investors that buy businesses, they buy based on two things. Um, your history and also your potential. So they want to buy a house at 7, 8, or 9 p.m. where there's a lot of great history, but there's still a lot of time that buyer and investor can amplify what you've already done. Tragically, what business owners will do, similar to this mindset of a house, is they assume, well, I can just wait. And whenever I'm ready, which is usually the 11th or 12th hour, then I'll
Mm,
sell the house. Um, and sadly, their fate gets forced on them.
right. Right. They have no control.
They have no control, and it only amplifies their frustration,
hmm
their regret, because they've gone from years and in some cases decades of a sense of control, even if it's an illusion, but they
hmm
still feel like they're in control.
hmm
So all of a sudden, um, a spouse is diagnosed with cancer or dementia starts to show signs, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have to sell my business.
hmm
And Misty, this is the norm. There is trillions of dollars of businesses held by baby boomers that are in their 60s and 70s, that tragically are now in the 10th, 11th, and the midnight hour.
hmm
And their fate is going to be imposed on them, and success will be in spite of themselves rather than because of themselves. And
Yeah.
so it is absolutely critical, absolutely critical. And I can't emphasize this enough with the audience that they have a conversation with you and say, Misty, help me figure out where I've been, where I'm at,
Yeah.
where I'm trying to go, and how do I get there?
Yes.
When it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and you can have success because of yourself rather than in spite of yourself.
Definitely. 100%. I'm glad that you brought that up. And there's a defining moment there for people to look at. When you start coming into challenges that you can't solve on your own, that's when you need me.
Hmm,
And
that's
that's
good
when I can
insight.
come in. Thank you. That's when I can come in and say, okay, what are we doing with this company? Are you passing it off to a family member? Are you selling it? What are you doing? Right? Let's figure this out. Let's set it up to exit now so that when that time comes, or if it comes, or if it never comes, I don't care. But life is unpredictable. We can't control everything, right? So if that person is 60 years old and they feel like they have a successful business, awesome, wonderful. Let's look at it. Is it ready to exit? Let's put eyes on it and make sure so that you can prepare for that and start preparing for it now so you're not caught with your pants down at the 11th hour. Like that's the worst possible place to be.
And Misty, if there's anything that has been positive, um, about our circumstances in recent history, is the realization that global pandemics do occur. Planes do fly into skyscrapers.
Yeah.
There is a global financial crisis or a housing collapse. Life does happen,
Yes,
and
it does.
we don't have total control.
Yeah.
And so it requires intentionality. And that intentionality requires an army to give us the best shot possible to
Mhm.
build that empire.
100%. So let's be proactive, guys.
That is the moral of this story.
Yes.
That is the moral of the story.
Yeah. I mean, just in that vein, I have one of my guys coming to see you that we know he's not anywhere close to selling the company, but we're so proactive and he's proactive minded that he's going to be meeting with you to talk about what does that future look like. So I love that. Like he's on the right track, which is amazing, but not everybody is in that mind space.
Misty, I think that's a great action, call to action, for today's conversation. Once a year, it's almost like going to the doctor and getting an annual checkup. Once a year, you should have a company like SDR say, hey, here's what we believe your company's worth.
Mm,
Here's what people are paying for businesses like yours. Here's what they're paying a premium for. Here's what they're paying a discount for. Here are some characteristics that make a great company. Here are
mm,
some characteristics that make a less desirable company.
yeah,
And
I
what
love that.
can
You're
you
giving
do?
people,
Yeah,
yes,
what can you
sorry.
do in this coming year, through help advisors like you,
Hmm.
to work towards a great company?
Definitely. And I love that you're giving everybody in that space the ability to make an informed decision. When we don't know, we're lost and we're more fearful. We're more trapped in our own thoughts and projections. But then if somebody like you that comes along that's an expert in mergers and acquisitions, guess what? You're getting in the information that is rooted and solid and proven over the test of time that is going to give you an informed decision so that you can better plan for the future.
Without question. And
Mm,
it's, we talk to business owners every single day. And um, what they come back with is, hey, Geoff, I do the right things every single day, um, by my clients and my customers. And I know that month in and month out, I'm making more money than I did the last month or the last year.
mm.
And I just hope that it all works out. And they know in their heart, their mind, and their gut that hope is not a strategy.
No, it's not.
Um,
No. This is why I use the empire building framework because there's actual strategy to it. You have to set your foundation. You have to dig the foundation, set the foundation, put your pillars on, then put the roof on, right?
that
It's our
sounds like it.
structure.
I would love, that sounds like that could be a great episode in and of itself.
Maybe our next episode, we'll talk about that,
Yeah.
building an empire. And, my business owners that come to me, I introduce that concept to them and they're like, I don't want to build an empire. I'm like, why? Are you attaching an icky thought process to it? Yes. Okay. Well, you can build an empire with integrity. You don't have to have a bunch of bodies underneath you, right? So it encourages people to get out of their own way and think about things differently. And it brings up some of their limited thinking that we get to work through. It's quite an amazing concept. It works great. So that's next time.
Where you say build an empire, I have historically said realize your potential.
Hmm.
You,
Yeah, marry those two together.
yeah, I mean, do you want to realize your potential? Who
Hmm.
doesn't want to realize their potential?
Right.
Do you want to function at your capacity? Um, you know, I think
Yeah,
everyone wants those things. I
for
think
sure.
where they struggle is, well, what does an empire mean for me and my family?
Hmm.
And that's where they need your help, is unpacking, well, what does that mean for me and my family?
Right. Yep. And we can totally dive into that. So, I mean, we have so much to talk about in the future, and we will, which is awesome. So stay tuned, you guys. Like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that's
have Geoff
exciting.
back. This is not a one and done. Geoff is coming back, so stay tuned.
I love
Uh,
it.
one of my favorite questions to ask people is, what do you do personally to keep a wealthy mind?
So, not surprising, from our conversation, I not only believe in, helping, the whole person as a business
Mhm.
owner. I certainly apply that, to myself.
Mm,
And so I spend a lot of time, on the mental, physical, emotional,
mhm,
and spiritual. And so, very intentional, starting every single day, with, time in silence, solitude, prayer,
mm,
meditation, journaling,
yeah.
um, reading. That's how I start virtually every single day.
Mm,
And then move from there to, some time of, physical exertion. I love lifting weights. I love cycling,
mhm,
um, walking. Recently I've spent more time walking, and, have been amazed at how that clears my mind,
mhm.
um,
It does.
and, renews my spirit. And so, and then, jump into my day, from a
Yes.
work standpoint. And then, um, recently I've, um, in the past year and a half, I lost both my parents. And
Mm,
so, I have been doubling down on relationships.
I love that.
It's been amazing to me, how life-giving, just conversation and relationships are, to
Mm,
us.
yeah.
And so, those are the three things: the mental, emotional, spiritual component, the physical, and, filling our tank, or our
Mhm.
well, our
Yeah.
fountain, relationally. I think those are keys to success. And, after losing my parents, I realized I need to get serious about those three aspects of my life, and I have.
Yes. And they are keys to fulfilling success. Let's define that because you can have unfulfilling financial success. So,
And the same with physical success, you
yeah.
know? All right, so you rode your bike 100 miles. So what?
Hmm.
Was that, did that feed your ego, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah,
If it's
definitely.
nothing more than driving your ego, then we may come up short.
Well, I love that you are a whole person and you focus on your whole person, not just your business. So you practice what you preach, which I do too. It's awesome.
Not
So
easy.
No, it's not. Definitely not easy, but I'm not going to ask people to do things that I'm not willing to do myself or I don't do myself. So
That's awesome.
that's awesome. Yeah, incredible. Well, let's get wrapped up so people can stay tuned for our next episode and have some anticipation for what's to come. And we'll probably end up talking about building an empire and what does that look like. So you guys, thank you for listening to me and Geoff. I hope it was valuable to you. If they want to contact you, what is your website? The rest of your information will be in the description, but what's your website?
Sure. So the website is sdrventures.com. Strategy, discipline, resources, ventures, plural.com. sdrventures.com.
Very simple. All right, you guys, until next time, we will see you soon. Thanks, Geoff.
Thanks, Misty.
Thank you for tuning in to the Wealthy Mind podcast. Please be sure to download the Wealthy Mind app today and make sure to support your local Dress for Success.